call.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Black,
Present.
Mrs. Black,
Here.
Mr. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Groan,
Here.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mr. King,
Here.
Mr. Perez,
Here.
Mrs. Faye Robinson,
Here.
Mrs. Tiffany Robinson, Mrs. Sermon,
Here.
Dr. Wingate, Superintendent Dr. Robertson.
Here.
Okay, so we need to approve the agenda.
I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda to add the social media legal suit, I guess would be the
Social media
thing.
litigation?
Social media litigation to the agenda, please.
And we would.
Second.
Add that under board matters.
Yes, under board matters.
So that would become subsection B. Okay. Any other items that we want to add? Oh, it does, so we.
I'll just put it in
C
line.
then. Okay,
I'll just put it in line.
okay. Okay,
Second.
so need approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll
Okay.
call?
Okay, hold on just a minute, because
Okay.
you did a second, so, and then we
Second
went
to
back
the
and did it
motion,
again.
so now
It's just Gary.
So Gary did the
Did the
original,
motion.
okay, and you did the second, correct? It was,
No, it was Larry. That was
okay, just
Sorry,
want to be
Mr.
clear,
Brown.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Sermon,
Yes.
Dr. Wingate, Chairman Smith.
Yes. So we completed our executive session, so I'd like to welcome Michael Callaway. Hello, Michael. Mr. Callaway. He's our program coordinator out at Washington Alternative Learning Center. What a great job you guys do over there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Board members, Superintendent Robertson, guests, thank you all. Welcome. Thank you for having us here tonight. I just want to just want to say that we're having a great year up at the Hillcrest Center, Washington Alternative School. We're having a great year, and all are welcome to join us and come by and see the wonderful things that we do at the Alternative School. We've made great strides, and we have many more to make. I would like to read a short poem by Tecumseh, please. So live your life that the fear of death never enters your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their views, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Tecumseh. Thank you. Would everyone please stand for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance
Thank you, Mr. Callaway. Exemplars of excellence. Dr. Stewart?
Chairman Smith, do you mind speaking into the microphone,
Okay,
please?
thank you.
For the
Sorry.
people at home. Thank you.
It's always a fun time to bring you evidence of the excellence in our district. So tonight we have the opportunity to recognize the National Merit Scholarship finalists. So Hamilton County is pleased to recognize 4 recently recognized National Merit Scholar semifinalists who now have qualified as finalists. Scholarship winners are chosen on the basis of their abilities, their skills, and their accomplishments. The prestigious recognition from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation is based on their performance on the preliminary SAT and the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, the PSAT. Finalists named in each year scholarship competition exhibit exceptional academic ability and potential for success in rigorous college studies. So I'd like to recognize our National Merit finalists for 2024. First, we have from Chattanooga Center for Creative Arts, Eleanor Hill. Secondly, coming from Collegiate High School, Sophia Kim.
Chairman Smith. That's your certificate. Oh.
And coming to us from Signal Mountain Middle High School, first we have Logan Dapp. And also Lisa Lynn. Yeah, they're probably studying, but it's a really extreme accomplishment. So glad to get to credit them tonight.
Dr. Stewart, just real briefly, so everybody understands, what did these students have to do to get here?
They qualify by having a PSAT score that's in the highest ranking. I actually don't know what the number is on the score for PSAT, but they're in the top % in the country around a PSAT score. So it's a pretty,
I'm sure Ms.
Yeah.
Kim would know. How many number in the entire country? I think it's less than 1,300 people in the entire country receive this. You don't know?
what was the score on the PSAT that you had to earn? .217 index score. That's what I thought.
That's what
That's
I
what I
thought.
thought. I
It's
thought
just-
top one
it's
for-
a
yeah, that's-
very
yeah,
limited
top
number
percent.
of people around the country.
So,
She said, it don't matter, I'm already there. Who cares? I am a scholar.
at the end of the day, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and then a lot of dollars that ultimately will follow
Now,
it.
that's
So-
less than 1% of usually a well over 1 million students,
Yeah.
like 1.5 or 1.6 million. So less than 1% make it to the semifinals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it's exceptional.
great achievement.
All right, we also get to congratulate some young people from McConnell, McConnell Elementary Robotics team. I'll read a little bit about what they've accomplished and then invite their principal up. So in January, students from McConnell Elementary competed in the Robot Drone League Stat Championship, hosted by Streamworks at ETSU. At the competition, they were able to showcase their skills by completing a variety of missions using both driving and flying robots. How much fun is that? In addition, students submitted an engineering design followed by a question and answer session led by ETSU engineering professors. We want to recognize and congratulate those students for that outstanding achievement and top score in the Robotics State Tournament and top score in the engineering presentation. The McConnell Robotics team secured the championship award at the end of the competition, placing first place in the state. So please help me first welcome Ruth Pullum, to the McConnell principal to speak a little bit about her young people, and then we'll call them up by name.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. Our kids worked so hard. They had fun doing it. They were back there chattering about what happened, and they were rewarded for their efforts, but they had a great time. Thank you to the parents too, because it couldn't happen without them, and Miss Chase and Miss Spino, who taught them everything they know. It's a labor of love. So thank you all. We're just so proud of them, and thank you all for having us.
All right, let's bring our young people up. So John Brown, Juliet Fant, Grayson Fritz, Judah Kelly, Emma Mabry, Avery Moore, Tripp Nilsson, Presley Pugh, Evan Sheedy, and Michelle Wade. And coaches, come on up too. So Allie Chase and Julie Shapiro. Or Shapiro.
Great job, great job. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good job. Congratulations. Do more next year. That's great. Nice one. Congratulations. Congratulations. Did you know the band?
We got it printed.
Oh, okay. I thought, are you into that? That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations. Good job. Good to see a bunch of girls in it too.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Sure. Congratulations.
I will say that this is just one of the many amazing things that's going on at McConnell Elementary. So, Ms. Pullman, to you and your entire staff, just amazing work you guys do up there. Thank you. Okay, board disclaimer. So, Larry, we'll just start with you and just come down the road.
Does not apply.
Do I want to hear this one?
Now this is getting personal.
Can you just read it for me?
Okay, I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote on the budget and policies may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, etc., may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have relatives who work for the school system and the board's vote on all matters may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Does not apply. Here.
I declare that I have a relative who works for the school system and the board's vote on procedures may have an effect on my relative's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
I declare that I have a family member who works for the school system and that the board's vote on budget policies, etc., may have an effect on my family member's employment. Even so, I hereby certify that I will cast my vote in the best interest of the school system.
Does not apply.
Does not apply.
Okay, all right, very good. I need approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any items to be pulled?
Hold on,
Hearing none?
just a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The calendar, B.
It's not under consent.
That's not a consent.
No.
It's consent's very short, huh?
And that's for discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Ford?
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, moving down to administrative business matters. I need a motion to approve the new job description. This is not a new position as we discussed earlier, but a job classification description.
So
Motion
moved.
to approve.
Motion to approve?
Oh, second.
Oh, you did,
Either one. I mean,
no, we need a second. We already
Yeah,
have
sorry.
a motion.
so Gary, just second.
Second.
Thank you.
I was quicker than
That's
you
what
were,
y'all
Gary.
get for messing with Rhonda.
Okay, any discussion? Ms.
Yes.
Ford?
We're discussing board matters or administrative business matters.
For the chief
For
talent
the,
officer.
for the,
Okay, never mind. You're good.
okay.
Sorry,
Mrs.
I was one
Black?
behind.
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Faye Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, the board matters. Need a motion to approve the renaming of the Red Bank High softball field, Mandy Green Munn softball field.
I make a motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I want to say that this is really an awesome situation that we're going to do this. Had a chance to talk to Wendell and Principal Tillett, and Mandy has really given so much of her life to the community, to Red Bank, to softball, to the school system and Red Bank as a whole. And this is absolutely an earned honor, and I look forward to being there when we rename it and when we unveil it. So I hope the board has support on that.
Mr. Smith, I've worked with Mandy for 4 years. She's an incredible person. I would, not quite there, but when you think about Red Bank legends, you think about Susan Thurman, right? And I think that one day you'll look back and Mandy will be in that same category. She's, Miss Red Bank 1995, I think, not telling her age, but Miss Red Bank 1995, was a tremendous athlete, went and played college athletics. Maybe some would say that the reason the Tennessee softball coaches are at Tennessee and not at UTC now is because of Mandy Green. And then comes back and wins state championship with softball and helping with volleyball. But bigger than that, she's a good person, loves kids, loves Red Bank. So couldn't be more happy than to see this named after her.
Awesome. Anyone else? Ms. Ford?
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Emphatic yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, motion to approve social media litigation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
I think it's important for the public to know
Right.
what we're doing, so if you can just give an
Sure,
explanation.
absolutely. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, what is before you is an opportunity for the Hamilton County Board of Education to join in the social media class action suit that's being brought by districts around the country against some of the social media giants. The theory of the case is that these social media giants are deliberately targeting our young people for commercial gain, and they're doing so in a way that is at a minimum taking advantage of antisocial behaviors, and it is in fact actually fostering some of those behaviors. Districts around the country are watching a tremendous increase in the number of disciplinary issues that administrators have to address, cyberbullying instances that occur during school hours and after school hours, and untold other problems that are affecting the school climate over which school administrators have no control. And so this lawsuit was initially brought with a primary eye towards setting guardrails in place to make it less commercially tempting for these entities to target our kids, plain and simple. This litigation is no cost to the Board of Education. If there are any costs, they will be borne by the law firm that's leading the charge, and they will recover their costs out of any financial recovery. There is some chance that the board will actually recover some funds here, but that's not the primary reason to do this.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Ms. Ford?
Mrs. Black,
Yes.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mrs. Fay Robinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurman,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to the review of the 25-26 calendar.
So sorry, I understood. I
We'll go
talked
ahead.
out of place. No, others can speak.
Okay.
I'll speak.
Ms. Black?
I was just gonna say, what was explained by Ms. Moody earlier, that this was from PECA several years ago. Is this an instance where, like, we did the best with the information we had then, and now we have better information that this doesn't necessarily, the half days or half days on Wednesdays don't necessarily work for everyone, where the intention was that it would work several years ago, and now that we're several years into this, we have a different perspective and experience with this?
I think it's a good question. as you recall, I believe it was last month, we amended next year's calendar to add more half-days, and we did that in cooperation with the Pecker Group, and had the same discussion about why it's on Wednesdays, and there are numerous reasons why. I point to this, and I think calendar is a hard one for multiple reasons. We run into this about every 3 or 4 years where there's just a difficult calendar, but we're never going to make every single person happy in this. I'm more than happy for us to have more discussion about, are these whole days, or are they half days? I think that's a worthy conversation. I'm less inclined to talk about, are they on Wednesdays or Mondays or Fridays?
Sure. And I've heard from not only teachers, but also parents about the difficulty around half days. And it's true. Some kids just don't come to school. And those are the kids who can't afford to be missing school, whether it's not only for instruction time, but also the opportunity to eat. And so I'm just very concerned that this just does not work, especially from the feedback that we have, admittedly from parents, that it just does not work for families. And at what point, if we have a significant number of teachers saying that it doesn't work for them, and a lot of parents saying that it doesn't work for them, why aren't we listening?
Sorry, I'm brainstorming and so I mean, you gotta remember there, this is 25-26 calendar. So the calendar for next year, we added the additional half days. I don't think there's anything that would prevent us from like highlighting, I'm speaking out loud, I'm looking at you. I don't think there's anything, like, really what most families want to know for 25-26 is, when is fall break, when is spring break, when do we start? This is, I would say, a secondary thing.
This is our opportunity to set the calendar, right?
Well, what I'm saying is, there's nothing that would prevent us from kind of putting a pin in this part. We could go ahead and say, like, if we were going to do 2 full days, it's on this date and this date. If we stick with half days, they're here. And then we could get, through a part of next year, right, using the half days, and then have this conversation about, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think probably what we would do is approve it one way or another, see how it goes next year, and then we can always revisit the calendar for 25-26. We put a calendar in place way in advance.
I understand, but we've been doing half days, and we have feedback that it doesn't work for families, and it is difficult for people to find childcare or to take care of their kids for a half day. I don't feel like we need to put it off anymore. If this isn't working, I feel like we need to listen to people.
So I have
Ms. Robinson?
Well, my whole feeling about voting yes was to help the teachers. It's always so many of my choices of the teachers and the students. But to Ms. Black's point, do that many teachers object to it? Because I know when I had a business, I could lock the door and do more in 45 minutes than I could do in 3 hours. So I was hoping that, I just visualized the teachers needing time to plan.
Yeah, I mean, from the survey, right, it was just barely more that preferred that 4 half days. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Jones?
So, okay. The half days what's the difference in doing 1 whole day versus 2 half days?
So the reason the calendar is designed the way it is with the half days, the reason it's designed with the half days was to try to create extended planning time on essentially a 4-week cycle, right? So that they could have a huge block of time, do 4 weeks, and that we were able to do that essentially monthly. They would have an extended planning time, either a half day or a full day. If we go to 2 full days, all it does is say instead of a 4-week cycle, it's an 8-week cycle or a 9-week cycle, that they use that full day to plan for, if that makes sense.
I was just asking that because trying to think from the parent perspective in that aspect. I think of a whole, if I knew my kid was not going to school. Oh, and I'll be a parent doing this. And yeah, so I need a whole day, because that's just not convenient for me. Being all realistic, but I think it would be more convenient for parents. However, I also I just lost my train of thought. The half day, the training.
You won't even remember.
The half day, the training, teachers with completing this calendar. So I am gonna sound like Rhonda right here, but I've been here 9 years, and for 9 years, every year, there's always, like Dr. Robertson said, everyone is not happy with the calendar. My biggest question though, is I wonder. And y'all can tell us this, and we see these percentages, but what's the real number of people that complete this? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if I was a teacher who didn't agree with this, at some point I'm gonna become apathetic and I'm just not gonna complete it because I'm gonna feel like you're gonna do what you wanna do anyway. So I'm just wondering.
That narrative to me is like really frustrating because I hear you on this survey, but again, the survey is not like, if you were to do a statistical test on this, it wouldn't be significant to say one way or the other, right? This is a very just generic.
Okay, I'm just saying, because you typically.
But what I want to be, I can't again go back to, like, we did this with HCA through PECA. Like, we had never done half days. Teachers said more planning. This board was generous enough to say, like, we'll agree, you give more planning. We just came back last month, asked for more planning. So we have like, to say that we're not listening to teachers, I just.
Oh, I'm not saying you're not listening to teachers. I'm talking about
because it
a
doesn't
parent.
just affect teachers; it affects the kids and the families who are coming to our schools too.
Yeah,
If
no,
we
I'm
want
not
to go to whole
saying that
days,
at
we
all.
can. I think
I just
that
wanted
that
to-
decision again is like not paramount in a month. You know, what parents want to know is when is fall break, when does it start, and if we
Right, which is
switch
true.
to
They want
half
to know the
days, we
main,
still have.
the bigger chunks, right?
Yeah. And maybe we could ask better questions about the specific thing, right?
We sure could.
Okay. Ms. Thurman?
Well, I brought a lot of these things up last month, and yet everybody went ahead and voted to add more half days.
I wasn't here. I was not
So
here.
I'm trying to understand, well, why we didn't have this discussion when we approved the calendar before, when we added more half days. It was not a good idea last month, and it's not a good idea this month. But everybody voted for it. It just really ticks me off, because the same arguments were then as they are this month. But anyway, for one, I'm looking at this, and it looks like there's a way you can move these days around. They either add a day when you're gonna have the next week off or something like that. It's just hard for parents to find babysitters. I was elected to represent the taxpayers, and that's who I'm gonna represent. PECA can never represent the teachers, but we have to represent the taxpayers. That's our job. And, so I do wish that you would look, even though I'm not gonna be here when, this takes into effect, but it's still gonna affect me, because if I couldn't help my daughter with my grandkids, I do not know what she would do. And, of course, they have the school-age childcare, and that's fine, but somebody has to pay for that, and it's not cheap. And so I just wish that this board would take a little bit more time to look at this. And like I say, when we voted on it last month and went ahead and added more half days, when we knew the half days we already had was not a good idea, and we added more. Go figure.
We could, we can bring both, and you can just vote on one or the other, right? And we can bring one with
Yeah,
2 full
to
days.
be clear, we're not voting on this tonight.
Right. So we can bring one with 2 full days and one with 4 half days, and then will the board,
Okay,
get it.
okay, Mr.
Can-
Connor?
I was gonna say, can we do that and send out a survey with the 2 options and have people, like, so people can look at the calendar and be like, cause I do appreciate having the data, cause I don't think we had the survey data last month when we had this discussion, did we?
Common sense helps a lot.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary?
All right, so after the vote last month, you and I had a conversation, and we discussed a possible solution to the dilemma, and I don't know after we had our budget talk earlier today if that's still a solution, but first, if we stick with the calendar as we voted, then a possible solution that was discussed was to, may I go ahead and?
This is your idea.
Right, well, but you said it was a possible solution, so, and it does have to, so, you extend for the roughly 2.5 hours, an added worker at each of the schools to keep track of the ones that can't make it back home or can't be picked up. Right now, what happens is that after talking to a few of the schools in the district, they usually hold them in the office or they hold them in the library, or there are kids that are not picked up. You know, right now it wouldn't be as large as if we provide this service, but you know, providing the service then helps the parents that can't pick them up by providing a worker that's being paid $7 to $10 an hour to sit and watch over them. It's just it was an idea. They're already working at the school, so it's possibly the cafeteria workers or possibly somebody that an ISS person or different things. But I know we're looking. The discussion about the 2 calendar is for the 25-26 year. And, you know, my question is, and Rhonda said it, we've passed this one, but does that mean that this one stays, you know, in stone, or are we looking to revisit voting again on it? And if so, before we do vote on it, are we going to do a better survey of reaching out, you know, we know what the teachers want, and I'll be honest, we know what the parents want. By a heavy majority, it was 2 to 3 times, you know, saying that. But Rhonda, your comment was that why didn't we know it? Well, I'll tell you, in my district, there was no feedback with regards to the calendar until after we voted to add the half days. That's when all the feedback came. So again, that's why this is coming up, because of stuff that was provided after we voted, not before we voted. So,
Mr. Connor?
I am on there now. So 2 thoughts. We keep talking about polling the teachers and things of that nature, but have we looked at what similar sized districts do? What is best practice throughout the land? And is this similar to that, or?
We looked at several, when we first started doing this, I have not looked at similar, I mean, I have not looked at another districts, I don't know if anybody else has.
I think that would be a great perspective to gain is what other districts are doing, and does that work for them? Because you know, a note that has been sent up there is that also there's a lot of that time that's structured by administration. Like, how are we ensuring that that time is used for planning, and especially if it's a day when we're bringing them in without any students in there? Does that either disrupt or help with the planning? Because I think what we're all saying is, at the end of the day, the time that we're trying to provide is so that the teachers have time available to actually plan their day, instead of necessarily PD days where we're doing development and things of that nature.
Early on, that was a struggle. We've gotten better. I mean, every time, it's, to be honest with you, it's still a struggle. There's always a one-off of someone that scheduled something, but we have gotten better and better at saying this is actually unstructured planning time.
Okay.
And Pekka affirmed that this week directly.
Okay, excellent. That is, I think that's a key element. That's part of what the feedback that I was getting, was to make sure that time is protected. But I'll say again, I would love to see what similar sized districts do and how they structure their planning. Just better perspectives. You know, the worst thing you can do is say, well, we do it because we've always done it that way. So.
Yeah, but we haven't always done this way, right?
Ms. Thurman? No, you're not lit up? Okay. So, Dr. Robertson, obviously, again, we're not voting on this tonight, so maybe, but we do have, we're gonna vote on it at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I hear a couple things that you're asking. You're asking us to maybe ask specific question about this. You're asking us to come up with both options, right? And so we can do that in the next couple weeks, maybe get some information back to you. And the third thing, I mean, we'll pull a few calendars from other districts.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, takes us down to board policies, right at the time that our policy committee chair came in. These are all first reads, so we won't be voting on them tonight. And that takes us down to our events and announcements. March 22nd, report cards. March 28th, our State of the County by Mayor Wamp down at the aquarium at 10 a.m. Thursday the 28th, budget work session. And that's a good date, Marco?
No, we canceled that.
Okay? So scratch that. Friday, March the 29th, spring holiday schools are school and county closed. What is that holiday?
That's Good Friday.
Okay, of course it is. And then Monday, which will be the day after Easter, I guess, isn't it? Yeah. Development Day, Thursday the 18th. Yeah. Thursday the 18th, board work session, and our regular board meeting after the work session at 6. Anything else?
Not currently. We may schedule something for budget prior to that.
Prior to Easter?
Prior to 18th,
Oh.
But not on the 28th.
but we haven't
Didn't know
yet.
that.
Okay. Yeah, I did that earlier.
High school plans and Dixon, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, the 30th, that's right. Okay, anything else? Okay, let Warrior stand adjourned.